Hello there, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be going over the so far final installment of the Chucky franchise called Cult of Chucky. Now this is the last thing that we've gotten released up until the new Chucky TV series premieres on the USA and Sci-Fi channel this October 12th. I'm so excited for it because this is one of my favorite sequels. I did not expect this one to be this good. I remember waiting for it and being happy that the Curse got a sequel. This is once again directed by Don Mancini, and I think he does an absolutely fantastic job with this film. It looks really, really nice, and it does a great job of tying up all of the storylines and characters from the franchise so far. It's got some of the best pacing, best plot points, and best kills of the franchise. So with all of that being said, let's get right into Cult of Chucky. I love that this movie takes place in an insane asylum because it follows the last movie, which was perfect, and I think that it's a really cool concept to be able to have Chucky in a place where it's very pristine and white, and it's also an environment where people aren't necessarily going to believe. I mean, obviously nobody would anyway, but this is a really, really big fear of most people, is being confined somewhere and then not being able to be believed about the truth that's going on. And that's absolutely happening to Nika. We pick up with her and she's being transferred to a less security hospital because she's had some progress in her work. Over the past 4 years, she has had severe therapy, and they have pretty much got her believing that the previous movie's actions were all hers, and that Chucky was a fantasy and a delusion that she had made up to be able to cope with the break that she had that was psychotic and went and murdered her whole family because she was jealous of her sister and possessive of Alice. Now, we obviously know that that's not the truth, and that's one of the scariest aspects of this franchise is Chucky always, like I say, gaslighting people and playing that "is it really happening" thing. They do that a lot in this film. It goes back to what I think the roots of the Child's Play franchise, which is why I love these previous two installments, because they do that whole "is he alive or is he not" for a big portion of it, and I think that they do the slow burn thing quite well. It's a perfect bridge and a perfect piggyback off of the last installment. I really appreciate that each one of these sequels has done something different. Chucky is doing something different. He's in a different place. There's a different aesthetic. The last movie was a very gothic themed, dark styled movie, and this one is a very mindfuck movie. There's a lot going on and it's very intense, and the environment of this movie and the set building and what they do with it, making it so white and unbusy, it makes you focus on the characters, but it also makes you feel like you're stuck. It makes the audience have a confined feeling, just like how the patients do, and I really find that that works well in this film. I like the idea of this group therapy happening and them having to explore the idea of Chucky, and we get a sense of who these patients are and the people that Nika is interacting with. I think that they're a very fun group of characters to watch. This movie happens to keep my attention. It's probably the one that I put on the most to rewatch ever since Bride. So this one is very important to me. It's very fun. It's one of my favorites. I like the way I feel when I watch it, and I don't think that the pacing has any problems. I really appreciate that they take their time getting to every character. And let's talk about the characters. So everyone in there is kind of like nutsy batso cuckoo, and they really play that aspect very well. And I don't feel like it's too cliche. I think that it really makes the story world built. It shows you the people that Nika has to interact with. And on top of that, we get Jennifer Tilly again, and she is playing herself and Tiffany. And we also get Andy Barclay back from the original two Child's Play films. And it was amazing to be able to see him in a more prominent role this time. I like the character being so aggressive towards Chucky. We get to see how he's living now and what sort of behaviors he's experiencing in life and the things he has to go through. And I like that he has all of the nods to the previous installments around his house somewhere, whether it's the military school or pictures of his mom or pictures of Kyle. He keeps a Chucky head in his safe to torture, and we're supposed to believe that it's the one from the original movies, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and even through 6, until we learn very, very halfway through this movie, they start playing with the concept that there might be several Chuckies. because we see Andy interacting and torturing one at his house, but there's one running amok at the insane asylum after Nika. Pretty soon there happens to be 2 dolls in the asylum, and Chucky is swapping places back and forth, and you never know where he is, and that comes to one of the parts where a patient doesn't really understand if he's real or not, and goes to sort of act out about that, and she ends up getting bit by him and realizes that it's true and has this big freak out, and of course no one believes her and they think that she's insane, so they sedate her, which only makes her more susceptible to Chucky because they literally strap her to a table and she ends up being helpless. It's one of my favorite kills in the entire franchise, and it mirrors and pays tribute to the glass kill from Bride of Chucky, how they're very similar but they're different. This one I think does it to the max. I love it's so beautiful. That's what I can say about this movie, is that there's like this haunting aesthetic to it, but it's also it's like eerily beautiful whenever it's the snow and the glass falling in slow motion, and the red of the blood in this environment, because everything is white, really just makes everything pop, and it draws your eyes, and it makes for such a great aesthetic choice. Speaking of aesthetic choices, I love so many different camera shots in this movie. I love the ones with the hallways, the ones where they're doing the crane angles. There are so many different techniques that Don Mancini puts into this, and I happen to really, really love whatever he's doing with it, because it just makes it so fun for me to watch and to see how the camera glides around. It makes all of my triggers from film school go off, and it's just so good. He does a good job with this, and I'm really, really proud of him for this movie. And I love really great camera angles. There's a moment and a sequence in this movie where she's staring out at the window at Chucky, not really sure what's going on, and there's a split screen flipping back and forth, and it's done so well and so intensely because the music is great and terrifying that they really make it fearful and anxious, and it's one of the perfect examples of how this movie carries anxiety. And they even do they do both of the split screens, and I really love that aspect of it because I've never really seen that done that way before. So one of the aspects I was talking about is the multiple Chucky dolls, and one of the girls at the asylum thinks that it's her baby. She's having like a delusional play out because she ended up killing hers. And it's really fun because he can be alive around her, and she doesn't really necessarily understand what's going on because she is delusional and has PTSD about the loss of her child. Which brings me to one of my favorite parts early in the film, when Chucky shows up to the asylum and he's walking around the halls and one of the patients sees him. She's a paranoid schizophrenic and she starts talking with him, and he gets kind of mad, and I think this is peak Chucky dialogue. It's classic already, is he's like, "Are you fucking with me?" And she's like, "No, like I see things, you're not real." And he's like, "Whatever, lady, you're fucking next." And I just think that it's Brad Dourif at his best. I feel like they've kept this character and this killer consistent. His voiceover, his words, his sassiness, his aggression, that's part of the character, and I really feel like they do him best in this one. It feels like he's flexing the ultimate Chucky vibes. We're getting to the finale of this film, and Tiffany has been harassing Andy and Nika, and she's on her way to the asylum at the same time that Andy is on his way to the asylum. And we're learning that not only are there 2 dolls, but there are 3 dolls, and potentially more, because that is where the title Cult of Chucky comes in. There is more than one alive and possessed Chucky doll. He figured out a way to take his soul, Charles Lee Ray's soul, and split it amongst multiple vessels. So now instead of being in one place at one time, he can wreak multiple havoc amongst multiple people. And this last 10 or 16 minutes of the film is bonkers, balls to the wall crazy. It's everything I loved and wanted, and because of how well this film builds up to that, it really makes the payoff that much more fulfilling. I like how exactly they did it whenever I say about the pacing, because the beginning is a slower thing, and then there's some great scenes in the middle, and we've got that big bang at the end, and they all work to balance each other out, even though the beginning is more setup and the ending is more action. Seeing 3 Chuckies in action is something I've always wanted from this franchise. I thought they were going to do that in Child's Play 3. We talked about that. I'm glad that Don Mancini saved it for this installment, because it made it so good, and it made it that much more juicy and more surprising whenever you're seeing this turn of events. And I love how they're interacting with each other there's 3 of them now in one room, and they're just killing and slashing. And that's another great Chucky Brad Dourif moment, is they're all kind of like arguing and pecking amongst each other. And that is one of the great times whenever they work comedy into the film without making it over comical like Bride and like Seed. It just feels like perfect Chucky. The score of this film gives me goosebumps every single time Chucky transfers his soul into Nika and she starts walking out of the insane asylum, and she's got that beautiful red scarf on. This movie pops color in the exact perfect moments, and I love that Jennifer Tilly also has that red pop of color throughout the movie whenever she's visiting. And here at the end, she's got her classic red car from Bride, and she's got the Tiffany doll, and she cuts the cop's throat, and everything is just perfect. It's such a perfect homage. Tiffany is exactly the way that she's supposed to be. I'm so happy. Of course, I wish they would have used her a little bit more, but I'm happy that she got a bigger role in this one than she did in Cursed. And then, as Nika, possessed by Chucky, is on their way out of the asylum, we get 2 more of the most amazing kills. She stomps the head of the psychiatrist who had been taking advantage of her, and she watches the Chucky doll take out one of the other inmates there after he's been, killed someone else. And the drill goes right through his eye. It's one of my favorite kills in this movie because it's so graphic and bloody, and it looks really, really well. They don't shy away. I love the unrated versions of these films. They are the absolute superior versions, if you ask me. They're the ones that I watch. I don't really tend to watch the other ones. It just makes it that much better for me and so much more believable, and there's a lot of work done into the physical practical effects of this movie. The doll movement looks great. The practical blood and the deaths and the gore is amazing. There's kills all over this, and there's some of the best in the franchise. One of my absolute favorite moments of this movie and franchise, I keep saying that word a lot, but it's so true, is this ending last couple minutes where they get together and they're finally reunited and they take off laughing and the movie just ends. It's so chilling and so eerie and so iconic to me. I knew from the day that I saw that for the very first time that it would be one of my favorite scenes. I'd never been impacted by something like that before. I was rooting for them. I loved them. I loved how this finale played off, because if this was the end of the franchise, it's like, that's fucking hilarious. It's perfect. It's eerie. There's so many different ways that could go on, and it leaves the viewer to the imagination. And that's a perfect end. But we have confirmation that it's not because of the TV series coming out, so I'm so excited to see what they do with that. Apparently, the first 4 episodes are supposed to be the new kids, and we focus on their story, and the last 4 episodes are going to focus on Jennifer Tilly and Fiona Dourif's character, Nika/Chucky. So that's going to be great to see. I can't wait to see that incorporated into this entire timeline of events. And just because they're going to a TV series now, I hope they get a 2nd season, doesn't mean that they won't ever do another movie. So yes, with all of that being said, that was my review for Cult of Chucky. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I really look forward to watching this one every year for Halloween, and I watch it a lot throughout the year anyway. Like I said, Chucky is one of my favorite serial killers. He's up there in my top 3, and I just think he's so menacing, and I really love how he's got such a great bulk of movies and content under his title right now. I need that with Scream. I need there to be more movies. I'm super excited for that to come out. But anyway, yes, back to Chucky. Jennifer Tilly, oh my goodness, her presence in this film made me so happy. I scream every time I see her on camera. She absolutely has my way of pulling attention to the screen, and I think she just does perfect. So let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. What do you guys think about this one? I know a lot of people really don't like it, and a lot of people do. It's a very controversial installment, but it's not like how people consider a bad one like Seed. Although there are people out there who really hate this one and think it's some of the worst things that has ever been done with this character in this franchise. I completely disagree. I think it's one of the best. I think this franchise has only ever gone up since the day that it's been made, and I've been a full supporter of Chucky, and I will continue to be a full supporter of Chucky. So yes, let me know what you think about the franchise, this installment, what are your favorite movies down in the comments. Let me know your favorite Chucky lines and moments from this installment, and once again, this is my Blu-ray Chucky box set containing every 7 films, and I'm so glad to have it in my collection. If you can get it, you definitely should. It is so worth it. Well, happy Halloween season. I hope you had a great time watching my video, and I hope you guys have a great fall and a great Halloween. It is my favorite season, and that's why I've got some pumpkins and some lights and decorations in the background, Be sure to check out some of my other videos because I've done a bunch of different genres and I plan to do a bunch more. Check out whenever I do a ranking for this franchise. I'm probably going to do the remake soon as well. And I also do some live streams with my friends, so make sure that you check out for those. I'll make sure to post lives and links to them whenever I can. Be sure to check back for whenever I post something new, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you the next time. Alright, bye!